Trauma affects you having children potentially. It can stop you from wanting them. It can bring fear up. It can affect you in so many different ways. It is something we don't talk about much. I'm Chantal from Unfold Your Freedom, and I'm a holistic counselor. But I'm going to share from you my own story as well. And this is what I keep doing on my YouTube channel, because I think it's really important to sometimes hear things that are life's experiences, as well as the theory, as well as the information giving. So I will give you that too. It took me a long time to understand that how trauma affected me having children. So I'm a woman without children, as I say, not by choice, it's by circumstance. So there's so many different ways that this is called, and it's starting to be talked about more and more, which is really, really amazing. And I'm going to actually share in the description a woman I've been following and have contact with, and hopefully will be interviewing soon, is Jodie Day, because she has really brought this into light. She lives in the UK, actually no, not in the UK, in Ireland, and she is a therapist, holistic therapist, specializing in this. And what she's doing is now starting to talk about, as she hits her 60s like I have, what it means then to become a grandmother. We don't talk about it. We're not even taught to grieve. You know, again, I'm sharing from my experience, and I don't know how much depth I can go into, but just hold this. It's for reflection for only. And if you get triggered, please, please do seek help. Oh, I've just lost what I was going to say, but I'll just keep going with this. It is changing now that people, men and women, are making a choice not to have children. But I know for me, I really wanted to have a child. What was interesting, I never needed to get married, didn't want to get married, and I definitely wasn't going to take on my spouse's name. And for that, in my day, it was only just starting to come through. But interesting enough, I really wanted to have a child. My body was, well, I thought it was ready. My mum loved having us children, despite what went on with my father, and despite, in the end, she was unable to be the mother that I wanted and needed, but she loved having us, and I always knew that. And I just thought, oh, I want to have that experience too. My body ached to have that. But again, I didn't realize it. So circumstances were that I just never met the person, or the person I did meet was no longer able to have children, already had their own. So, but I kept going in this dreamlike state. I just didn't realize my years were going by, and this is what can happen. Then one day I finally woke up and went, oh my gosh, here I am. I'm in my early 40s and it hasn't happened. And I just met a lovely man, older than myself, who'd had children. I should go back a bit. I had actually made a decision before I'd met him, this person I'm still with after all these years, decision to go and have a sperm donorship, look into it, because I really, really wanted that child. As it happens, about 10 days beforehand, I ended up in hospital with a nervous breakdown, and needless to say, I never got there. And when I finally came out of hospital and went to see a specialist GP about my hormones, I was actually told I was already in early menopause, that I was never going to be able to have a baby. I could fall pregnant, but I wouldn't be able to hold the baby. But what I wasn't told was that it was important for me to grieve. I had a big cry. Got in the car with my partner. At that point, I was also 43, and I cried, and then that was it. I just got on with life. I didn't realize that that was a traumatic experience upon a traumatic experiences, because when I started to unpack it only a few years ago, I came to realize that I was actually frightened to have a child. There was an amazing amount of fear and anxiety because of my ability. Would I be a good parent? Would I do what my parents had done to me, was not be available physically, physically my mum was. We always had our needs met, emotionally and mentally. So I was scared I would either withdraw or I would smother them with the love that I didn't get. Now, this is the first time I'm really, really sharing this publicly, because I always felt embarrassed and ashamed. So that was the attachment style. Would I be able to give them a secure attachment? Because I didn't feel secure. I was petrified. Plus, doing it on my own at that point, how would I be able to do this? How would I be able to bring up a child financially as well? And over a period of time, looking back now, I'm glad I didn't, because I realized for me, not for others who've chosen to go down that track with IVF, sperm donor, it would have been selfish to have brought up this child because they've never known their father, and they would have only ever known me. And I realize now I actually didn't want that responsibility. This was just to fulfill my needs and my biological need. So could I do that? Would I be carrying on the patterns of behavior? So of course I eroded my sense of identity. Could I be a mother? Was I a mother? Would I be able to meet their needs? I've just said that. Then of course there's reproductive challenges. Trauma can affect that. I know it affected me with my periods. It affected me with how I felt about my body. It felt about my reproductive body, my femininity, my sexuality. So all that comes into it. Again, first time I'm really expressing that. And because I didn't know how to love my body and appreciate my body, and yeah, all those things that come into it. Still not quite happy to share everything yet, but that is coming. This is the start. Because you've got to remember, when you're sharing something personal, we can actually overshare and then overwhelm ourselves and trigger ourselves into deep emotions, which could be depression, anxiety, and all those things. I have done that a lot over the years, so now I'm a lot more aware. This is just to get you thinking about it. So, you know, the other things that come in are, I said all that: reproductive, communication, mind, body, spirit, integration. So it's about looking at what is important for you. Why do you feel the need? See, I was caught up in the bounds or the binds or the social expectation of having a child. Then, of course, for me, again, this is the religious side. I was born to procreate and to keep life going and to contribute to society in that way. And if you look at all the marketing, only recently, just a few years ago, when I was starting to grieve and see it, I can't remember who it was, so my apologies, they a pro-natalist society. And I went, it is. I didn't realize to what extent I felt excluded. How many women who are watching this are feeling this? Look, it could be men, it can be men as well. I've created a podcast, and at some point I'm going to share this. I've created it with someone, start talking more about this, because men can also be affected or are affected by this, but we always talk about the woman. But for today, this one is about women. So if you look back, I didn't realize there was no Mother's Day for me. There's no parental leave. I was never included in things, not in the conversation. They had mothers groups, baby showers. I suppose I could go to that, but but I always felt uncomfortable. I love being around children, but they were never mine. So eventually you're just not invited. You're not part of that group. You look at advertising, everything's around family with a dog, the beautiful home. Everything you go into the shops is all around that. You don't realize to what extent you are actually not included, but you just get on with life. And it wasn't until I started unraveling, unbinding, unthreading all of this did I realize, wow, I didn't have the conversation. And there was no conversation around me as a woman. No one asked me what it ever felt like. Now, as I'm going into that age of becoming the older woman wise, well, my friends are all becoming, or are becoming, not all, because some of my friends are also without children, grandmothers. So again, I don't feel included in that posse either. I don't have anything to share, cute photos, things to talk about. But on a note that I'm going to end on, is recently my niece, my beautiful, beautiful niece, had a little one. Oh my God, she's delicious. And the other day, I held her on my chest. She slept on my chest. And why I'm sharing with you this experience was, I'd never had that experience of having my own flesh and blood on my chest. It was the most, and trusting me and feeling safe to go to sleep. And I felt her warmth of her and heaviness of her head here. I felt her breathing on my belly, her little clenched up, she was asleep, her little feet hanging out. Oh my God, as you can see, this is my joy. And her mama is so generous to, she trusts me enough to have that. I'm still on a high, as this was only a few days ago. And I'm still excited. Now I've had that experience. Now I can share something. I feel I can be part of something. Is it important? Maybe not for you, maybe not for others, but I realize, yes, it is important for me now to have that beautiful little being in my life. It is absolutely exquisite. Again, as I say, thank you for listening. And if you feel comfortable, share your story. If not, DM me. And follow me on Facebook if you wish. I'm also on Substack, where I'm going to write more about this as well. And I'm going to start just more and more bringing this out into the open with all the other things as well. Thank you, thank you.